Hi, my name is Sarah Webb and welcome to my Assessment 3 presentation. I hope you enjoy. For my literature lesson, I have chosen the book Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss. Green Eggs and Ham is a story about a man named Sam who constantly offers his friend green eggs and ham, even though his friend says no. He offers green eggs and ham to his friend in different places, hoping that his friend would say he likes green eggs and ham. Although the story is a kid's book, it follows a poetry pattern where the endings of sentences rhyme. For the lesson, the teacher will read aloud the book to grade 1 students. Once the story has been read, the teacher will read it again with the class, asking the students after each page which words were the rhyming words and asking how the characters would be feeling and why they believed they felt that way. Once the story has been read a second time, students will be asked to work on their own to visually recreate the story on either iPads or paper. I have chosen Green Eggs and Ham as it helps teach students about rhyming words and poetry. Although poetry and rhyming can be difficult for students to grasp, this story is a classic that helps students to comprehend and understand the rhythm of poetry in a simple and fun way. To begin the lesson, the teacher will read out loud the story to the students, where the students must pay attention and listen to the story. This way the students will be able to have better input when they reread the story a second time. The second time the story is read, the teacher will ask the students to read the pages together. This allows students to understand the flow and improve their ability to recite poetry. The teacher will also ask questions such as, how would Sam feel after a page has been read? This allows students to think in depth and use imagery to understand characters' feelings. The students will work individually to recreate the Green Eggs and Ham story by either drawing on paper or using iPads. There are 4 sections where the lesson follows the Victorian F to 10 curriculum. They are: recreate text imaginatively using drawing, writing, performance, and digital forms of communication. This links to the activity where students are recreating the story by either drawing or using the iPad. Discuss how authors create characters using language and images. This links to when the teacher asks the students about the characters and why the students may make those assumptions. Listen to, recite, and perform poems, chants, rhymes, and songs, imitating and inventing sound patterns, including alliteration and rhyme. This links to the poetry side of the activity, and by getting the students to listen to and express where the rhyming words are and repeating the story as a class. Consider personal reactions to situations or problems and how these reactions may influence thinking. This connects with the activity where students identify characters' feelings, where they consider their own personal reactions if they were the characters in the story. Engagement. Getting the students to read the story engages them in the writing-reading process and involves them in the activity rather than getting them to listen. Responsibility. Allowing the students to interpret and recreate the story gives them the responsibility to make decisions for what they want to write. By getting the students to reread the story after the teacher reads the first time, students will be able to have a better understanding of how a text works, as they have both been able to listen to and recite poetry. Students also will be drawing their own experiences when reflecting about how the characters are feeling and using their funds of knowledge to understand emotions and feelings. Prompting the students about the characters' feelings enable language users to question the way things are and ultimately allow students to think further beyond. Critical theory allows students to see another side of the story by viewing how the story might be told from a different perspective. By focusing on how the characters are feeling, the students are able to question more about how feelings are represented and perceived. Authentic assessment asks students to apply their knowledge and skills in the same way that they would in the real world. By using authentic assessments, students are able to relate their work to the real world and participate in fair and unbiased ways of assessment. This form allows students to apply their knowledge and skills, ultimately empowering students by using their strengths rather than their weaknesses. Literacy practices are socially and culturally constructed. The group discussion aspect of the activity allows students to work together and in a social setting. This way, students are bouncing ideas off and learning from each other. Literacy practices are learned through inquiry. By prompting the students with questions, they are able to consider different views and make sense of different ideas. As a story, students can think about the different ways the conversation between Sam and his friend may have been by using different wording, facial expressions, and tone. Meaning making is at the heart of all literate practice. Understanding people's emotions and feelings are vital in the real world, and by understanding how the characters are feeling, the students will be able to make real connections with the learning to the real world scenarios. Educators lead literacy but do not have sole responsibility in literacy education. Allowing students to take leadership and express their own thoughts means the teacher is used as a guide rather than a provider that spits information for the students. This means the students can work on their critical thinking and independency, practices that function either to empower or disempower people. My activity functions to empower the students as they have the ability to succeed on their own, rather than have the opportunity to be forced to make wrong decisions. Thanks for listening. I hope that you have enjoyed my presentation.